Welcome to Woods, Water, and the Word. And this video has been a long time coming. And what I want to do is I want to give a breakdown on my boat and why I chose my boat. And we're going to do some further breakdowns a while ago. But I bought this boat in February of 2020. It's a 2019 model, boat motor trailer, this 2019 model. And what I want to do here is I want to be able to explain a little bit about why I chose this boat and why I chose the size of the boat I did. And unfortunately, when I was looking for about 2 years, I've had boats my whole life, but for about 2 years, I wanted to get back into a tournament-ready boat and start fishing some tournaments again. And what I had at the time, I had a good boat, but what I had wasn't near big enough to fish some of the lakes like Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn and things like that on a bad day anyway. On a calm day, I guess you could have went out there and anything. But I wanted to give you a breakdown on that and just explain if you're in the market for a new boat, and we're living in a volatile time to say the least as far as your bank account is concerned, and we've got a recession that we're in right now. Regardless of what anybody tells you, we're in a recession. We see that the amount of inflation is ridiculous. I've been watching the prices of boats and things like that, and they're steady going up. And I'm not going to argue the point on why things are going up and all that kind of stuff. But I just want to tell you this: if you're a person like me that wants to get their biggest bang for their buck, and you don't have to have the biggest, the best, the fastest, and the most expensive thing on the market, including all your accessories and all, which is a gigantic cost nowadays, then you might want to continue to watch this video. So let me also say this: I don't have any kind of sponsors whatsoever. So I'm not going to give a pro or a con based upon what somebody's given me. I think about the only thing I've ever gotten free in this industry is maybe a free ball cap or something like that. So I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly on the boats. Now today, what I want to do is I want to do just a hull breakdown and why I chose the hull. And with that, I didn't take anything out of my boat. I've got my boat right now with everything I would carry in it every day, whether I'm fishing a tournament or whether I get to go fun fish or something like that. So I've got everything in here, and I want to show you some capacities and things like that. Now, there was a time, this boat is on Triton's, this is a Triton 189 TRX, and this boat is classed as an 18-foot, 8-inch boat. At one time, they said it was 18.9. Well, I can tell you this: if you take a tape measure from the back of the transom, come up and measure a straight line to the bow of the boat, it is not 18.8. It is 18 foot and 3 inches long. Now, I got to thinking about that and wondered how they got the length on it, and I think, I haven't measured this yet, and I don't know if this holds true. I don't know if any other boat companies do it, but I've got a feeling that measurement is going to be the keel of the boat, or the very bottom of the boat. That measurement, I'm going to say, is probably 18 foot and 8 inches. And I hadn't had a chance to do it yet, but we'll look into it. But nevertheless, this at one time would have been considered a mid-range boat, and nowadays it's considered probably on the bottom end of a boat, not so much mid-range. I guess mid-range now would be the 19.5 foot or something like that. And so I really took my time trying to find what I wanted. And I'll say this: I've never owned a boat or a motor that gave me really any trouble. So preferences in that, I mean, I certainly don't want to badmouth anybody else's stuff, but I really wouldn't have a reason to anyway. I just knew what I wanted to look for, and you might take interest in it for yourself as you're breaking things down. Because although I think my boat is a pretty boat, I mean, it needed to be more than just being a pretty boat. I really wanted something functional, because I'm also one of those type, when I get the biggest bang for my buck, I'm also one of those type where I don't really buy stuff and sell it. So when I get something and I begin to fix it up the way I want it, I really have a hard time getting rid of it. I'm a little clingy when it comes to that sort of thing. So anyway, so I took about 2 years to start doing research on boats, because it'd been a long time since I found a fiberglass boat. I don't know, maybe a year. My wife, Cheyenne, is doing the videoing, and so she's over there shaking her head.
It didn't take you 2 years to do the research. It took you 2 years doing the research.
Okay, well, whatever the difference was in that, that's what I did. I took my time. And look, she's so doggone pretty, you can't get upset with her butting into the video. But anyway, I took my time. And when I went to doing the research, it makes a big difference what goes on inside of the boat for me. So I wanted to know how the boats were built. And when I took all of the boats and broke them down, I felt like the structure inside of this Triton was the strongest. And again, because I knew I was going to buy a boat in the 18 to 19 foot range, I wanted something that was going to be built really, really well, again, for that rough water. And I'm telling you, I don't like rough water. Every time I get in rough water, if I'm on Toledo Bend or Rayburn, and those two right there can get rough, and I'm sure that the Great Lakes and stuff like that's a whole lot worse, but I don't want to go in them if they are. I wanted something that was going to hold up in that, and I felt like it was. The gas tank in this boat is built in the bottom of the boat, and it's fiberglassed in. Now the specs on this boat shows it has I think a 41 gallon fuel tank. But when I pulled the inspection plate off of it to look at where the fuel tank was, the manufacturer plate says that it's a 45 gallon fuel tank. So I'm gonna go with the manufacturer. So it's actually got a 45 gallon fuel tank in it, and it's in the floor. I think it's fiberglassed in. It allows for stability in rough water and traveling down the road. I believe it reduces the amount of sloshing that's going on when you've got like a half a tank or something. But and also is how the stringers were fiberglassed in, made a big difference. And when I looked at some of the other boats, not that it was bad, I just didn't think they were as strong as the Triton boats. Now, let me say this. I know that there's probably going to be some people watching this, and there's always somebody that's going to be watching critically. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, you know, people are going to say, well, Triton, Nitro, and Ranger, they're all, you know, they were all bought, and now it's White River Marine and all that, and their quality has went down and all. I don't know about all that. All I know is what I've got in this boat, and what Triton specs were showing me. And I have had the opportunity to go by the factory. Now, I haven't been able to tour the factory, but I have been able to go by, and I'll share that with y'all later. But and then after I got to looking at how it was built structurally, and I was comfortable with that, I needed to look at how I guess you would say the ergonomics of the boat. Now, one thing I want you to take notice of, and especially in one of these smaller boats, I'm getting in water that the 21 footers are getting in. Now, I'm not about tearing my stuff up, and I don't care how big a boat you got, those waves get big enough, you're gonna tear stuff up. You're gonna rip electronics off the front, you're gonna spear waves that's gonna knock your windshield off of your console and all. If you're the type that just wants to barrel through it, then I ain't getting in a boat with you. So to date, I have not speared a wave. I've come close. I've been on the horizon several times, but I drive very cautiously. But coming back to that rough water, is the front of the boat in the bottom are the keel. And I want to talk about the dead rise, the amount of distance, basically what it is from the bottom of the keel to the rub rail of the boat, and how deep that is. And the Triton, there's some other boats like this also, but the Triton, the front of the bottom of the boat, or the keel of the boat, goes further forward than some of the other ones. So there's a couple of things that I looked at with that. When we're talking about floating, the further back this runs, if it stays flat down here, and the further back it runs before the keel begins to drop to where you would cut water, you got that much more boat that's hanging over water that doesn't have any flotation under it. So that made a difference for me. I wanted the bottom of the boat to be in the water quickly to keep that boat up out of the water. And I also wanted a good deep V in the bottom of the boat, especially, again, y'all, I'm talking about an 18.5-foot boat here. I wanted every advantage that I could get, and I felt like the Triton, and there was a couple of other brands, was built, the bottoms were built like this, but there are some other things that's going to bring me over to the Triton. So that was one of the things that I was looking at, along with its internal structure. So having said those things, we're going to move on back, and we're going to break the video for just a second. We're going to move on back, and we're going to get in the boat, and I'm going to show what it looks like from the inside, capacities, compartments and stuff like that, with all of my stuff that's in it, and kind of give you an idea whether you think you're going to have enough room. And I got to say this, I carry a lot of stuff. Now, I don't carry junk, but I carry a lot of stuff, and I am not lacking for storage space, and I think you're going to see why in just a minute. All right, now we're in the boat, and I want to show a little bit about the space that you have, and all again in an 18.5-foot boat. The deck on these Tritons are very, very wide, and that was appealing to me, especially if you got two people on the front. Now, I do realize on these longer boats, man, look, you can run down the deck with the hook set in a fish, but I've got plenty of room on here, especially from the last boat that I had. I've got plenty of room on here to move around, and whenever me and my partner are on the front deck fishing, other than me hooking his hat or something like that, we generally have plenty of room up here. So I'm happy with the width of the boat and the length of the deck on this boat. Now, staying on the front deck, obviously now the recessed trolling motor foot pedals and all that stuff, that's not even, you don't even have to talk about that anymore. That's just, I don't know a boat company now that doesn't do that. But one of the things that I did like about the boat in the front part of it is it had the retractable rod buckles. It had that on there. That came on the boat, because this was not an order boat. Once I determined what I wanted, and we'll talk about it, the engine in a separate video. But I knew that I wanted this boat, and I knew that I wanted a 175 Pro XS and I'll explain why. But when I was looking, there was only two in the United States of America. One of them was in South Carolina, and one of them was in New Iberia, Louisiana. And since I lived in central Louisiana, I knew which one I was going. And the one up there was blue anyway, and I just wasn't blue guy. But anyway, it's got the retractable rod covers in it. I do like the way that their cleats run on these boats, and there's three of them. One in the front, one in the mid-range, and one in the back on both sides. And I appreciated that, and I like that a lot. Now let's look over here on the port side, which is, if you're facing forward, for those that don't know, on the left side of the boat, on the port side, here is a rod locker. And another thing that was standard on this boat were lit compartments, LED lights in the compartments, which, y'all, that is, I don't want to do without that. So that's one of the extras where if you were going to order you a boat that I would highly recommend. But in this rod box right now, there are 18 rods, and I don't know if the camera's showing this or not, but I've got 18 rod and reels in here, and I think the longest one in here is I think it's 711 is my longest one. So I can put an 8-foot rod in here with no problem. But I've got 17 or 18 rods in here, and I can put another, oh my goodness, I could probably put another 8 rods in here easily. It's plenty of rods, just plenty of room for that. So I don't have any problem. And I also have a telescopic motor retriever. It's in there also. So plenty of room in this rod box. The latches on these boxes, these are the stainless steel latches, which I really, really like. And right now, again, this is October 1st, 2022. This is a 2019 boat that I purchased in February of 2020. And to date, none of these latches have leaked. And I know that people have had leaking latches. They haven't, and I like the fact that it's all stainless steel and not the plastic ones. So let's go to the port side locker, and I'm going to show you what I got in the port side locker. In the port side locker, I keep my junk in here. I've got my fire extinguisher that's readily available. I've got a mosquito spray and suntan lotion, not suntan lotion, sunscreen. I've got my summer rain jackets. I've got my weigh bag. I've got some rope in there. I got all kind of miscellaneous stuff in there, but I also have 2 batteries in there. I've got a lithium monster 30 amp, and I've got a 23 amp that I've got mounted in here, and my back light also, back light is in there also. And I'll explain these batteries. We're going to talk batteries too. I want to break down everything in these boats, and hopefully it'll help someone. So that's what's in here, and I still got plenty of room if I want to put more stuff in it. The center box, I think the specifications say it's 168 quart. I don't know how many quarts it is for sure, but anyway, in the front, I've got a throw cushion. I've got several boxes. I keep stuff in boxes like this, and I've got them stacked in here. It's a big box in the front, and it's funny because when I first got the boat, I put both my granddaughters in here and shut the lid. I've got some video of that too. And then I've got all kind of boxes of crankbaits and stuff like that. I put these little clips on here. Some young fella did a YouTube thing and did these clips. I kind of like him, and I was trying to insulate it by putting this stuff on. But in Louisiana, in the middle of summertime, y'all, there's nothing that'll hold that in. They just began to melt and begin to come off, and I was using the best adhesive that I could find, some 3M stuff, to try to keep the temperature down in these boxes. It's unbelievable how hot it gets in these boxes. So, plenty of room here. I've got in the front, there's some tool storage, but I've got my electronics mounted where that is, and I don't put anything up there anyway. I've got 2 set of pliers here. I've got the long tournament board that's in here. I actually lost the one I had. Never leave them on the deck and forget about them. They'll go over the side. But I got this one. It's the long one. It'll fit in here. And here is the ice chest, which works really, really well. Now they say it's 54 quart. I don't know. I can't see 54 quarts in there. However, it's got a tray at the top to put your dry stuff on, sandwiches and stuff like that. I can put me about 8 pounds of ice in there and water and all, and it'll last all day, especially if you cool it off ahead of time. But again, I live in Louisiana. At the end of the day, it's going to just about all be gone. What I really like about this ice chest, not just because it's insulated, but when you leave from the cockpit area, it is an easy step up. I don't have to be stepping like this all day to try to get up and down, and that is a huge deal. Now, although I don't look a day over 39 years old, I'll be 62 next month, so I don't want to step as high as I used to step. But I really like that. There's a cup holder here that I usually put maybe some scent spray in or something like this, and this handy little tray here, keep my scissors in, and during the course of the day I'll usually cut off a bait and I'll throw it in this tray here, and it's fine. So I've got some little accessories in here, little cup holders and stuff that I really like. The console on this thing is I think is really a good looking console. One of the LED lights is on the side of here that will light up your cockpit real good, and it's got your horn here. I have no idea why that stuff's in there. Can't nobody hear that stuff anyway. And the way the switches are designed, I have not had any trouble. In fact, I just checked on my vessel view on the boat motor right now. I've got 164.4 hours on the boat, and knock on fiberglass, I have not had a single problem with anything on the boat at all. When I get to the motor, well, I didn't actually have a motor issue, but I had a fouled plug issue that I want to break down because I had no idea it was a fouled plug, and I'm going to tell you why. So that's going to help out. So anyway, no problems with that whatsoever. I've got a small box right here with the cup holder ring at each side. I usually, when I get in here, I put my sunglasses in there, and I put my billfold in there and that kind of stuff. I've got another storage right here. I keep my scale in and my remote for my trolling motor and just miscellaneous little stuff in here, flashlights and stuff like that. And the seats, I believe the seats are second to none. They have a gel pack. I tell you what, why don't you move over on the front deck right there. They have gel packs in the seats, but one thing I would recommend, this boat did not come with seat slides on the bottom of the seat. And I finally got some seat slides and put on here. Not so much that the seats would slide back and forth, but it lifted me up. Now, I'm only 5'8". If there was a 6'2", 6'4" guy that was in this boat, his behind is dragging the bottom. And it's going to be uncomfortable for him to get up and get it in and out of the cockpit. Well, that raises it up a little bit more, so I do recommend the seat slides. But the seats are ultra comfortable and they're a tough seat. And also when I put the seat slides in, it gave me some room to put my net behind them, which is kind of nice too. I don't have to lay it on the deck. Well, if we move back on here, and again, y'all, this is a 18.5-foot boat, and you can see already the amount of storage, amount of room that you have. Livewells, that was a big one. Nobody had livewells in this size boat as big as the Triton. These are 30, oh my goodness, either 36 or 38 gallon livewells. In fact, one of the major boat companies out there, in this size boat, their livewells were 24 gallons, I think. And I want water in there. I want a lot of water in there because I want enough water for the fish to be able to move around, and I want to keep my fish alive, not only for the weigh-in, but also after the weigh-in, you're trying to release fish. I want them good. They have, those live wells have a recirculating pump in them that works real well. There's a live well pump out. Now, I don't have the live well release. I got to reach in there and pull the plug, but that ain't a big deal. But really, really, really nice live wells, and big. They go deep back in here. They're as big a live wells as a lot of the lot bigger boats are. So I really like these live wells a lot. Also, the lids are insulated. They're extra thick lids to keep the heat out of them. And again, I'm in Louisiana, fishing in Louisiana and Texas mostly, and it's gonna get hot. All right, I'm gonna go to these side compartments here. I got these pretty packed. I've got stuff just stacked in here. I don't know how close you can get. I've got stuff stacked in here, and I've got all the baits that I could ever use in anything. I've probably got too much stuff in here, and I've got both sides. I thought maybe you was too close. I got both sides in here just literally packed full of stuff. Same way.
Back up?
I don't lack for, yes please. I don't lack for any room whatsoever in this. And so plenty of room on both of these. And in just a minute I'll show you this back compartment here and where your batteries are and that sort of stuff. So one of the other things that I really liked about the Triton too is I don't have to have one of those navigation lights in the front. They're built in. In fact, Triton calls them fish eyes at the factory. Got the port and starboard, the green and the red in the front. The only thing I do have to put in is I've got to put in my rear LED light and a pole light, but I mean, I guess there's no way around that unless they make one that telescopes or something. And I don't know that they do that. I don't think they do. So anyway, got plenty of room here. I've got rubber pads where I need rubber pads. The quality, I believe, is there. And for what I would have called at one time a mid-range boat, which now would be considered a small boat on any type of tournament circuit, is I'm completely happy with that. It takes the water, again, it takes the water pretty doggone good, but I don't just shower down on it either. I mean, I let the water dictate how I run. I've just about covered everything that I think that I wanted to cover on the hull itself. So again, when you look at the difference, if you just are considering a hull right now, if you look at the difference in the price between this size boat and another boat that's 2.5 foot longer than this boat, it doesn't even make sense if you get to doing that, because literally when you're talking about capacities, it's minute in capacities in most of the other boats that I looked at. And like I said, I looked at all kind of boats. I looked at the manufacturers. It's minute, and so when you compare that and you compare the difference in the money, now I reckon if you just got money to burn, well, first of all, I want to be your friend, but if you just got money to burn, I don't guess it makes any difference. But if you're like me and you want to be a good steward of the funds that the Lord has given you, then I think this was good stewardship for our budget anyway. So I'm trying to think of anything on the hull else that I could tell you. I've got a sonar unit attached over here. They give room for that, and for your rods to lay also, they give room for that. And so that's where I've got that mounted at, and it's good and strong. I did want to, there was something else that I wanted to mention also on here. Oh, that's one thing on the deck that's a negative, if you want to look at a negative. When I put my rods under the rod straps, my rods will get up underneath where the trolling motor lays. Let me show them that real quick. So I've got my rods buckled right here. Of course, your reels and your rod handles has got to be on this side, and sometimes they'll get in the way of this stabilizer. You know, that's something I can live with without any problem whatsoever. So, but if I had to come up with a negative, that would be a negative. I do like the higher rail on the front, so when I do hit a wave, I don't lose a rod and reel over the side or something else that I may have up there. The only negative to that is if you're doing some flipping, some pitching, every once in a while you'll bump that, and that can be something. But I'd rather have the rail. The trade-off is better on this side. So hull-wise, oh, there's something else. I also wanted to mention the passenger rod on a rod rack on the side, and I keep a couple of fairy ones here. That's just where I tote those at. I don't use spinning reels very often, so I got a couple, and I did want to say that. Now we're going to come around to the back of the boat, and I wanted to show you something back here that as far as the hull was concerned, as far as Triton was concerned. And again, I mean, Triton isn't sponsoring me or anything like that. They're not paying me to do this or anything. I just really like my boat, and I think I did really well with this boat. But is this rescue ladder. The rescue ladder stays out of the way, and of course it folds down, and then your handles come out, and you've got a handle here to get back in the boat, and it's not something that you got to work around. So I do recommend. I take care of my stuff pretty good. That's why when I do sell something, people don't mind buying stuff from me, because they know I'm a little fanatical about keeping my stuff up. But again, it's just stewardship, y'all. It's just stewardship, and I thank the Lord for letting me have something like this that I don't deserve. That's for sure.
Do you want to do the back?
Do what?
Motor section.
Come around on that side over there. All right, your rear compartment here, there's never enough room in a rear compartment. However, one of the LED lights is back here in the rear compartment. Tritons come with 1 or 2 sliding trays that go here to keep tools in and stuff like that. It doesn't carry much, because what happens is if there's any tools bouncing around in that in rough water, it'll just break the bottom of it. Mine didn't do well, so I got a little toolbox here. I've got a set of jumper cables in here. I've got some screwdrivers in here. Just some minor stuff in here that I carry. I set it down in here on top of my Norco battery charger. I'm going to be talking about batteries also at a later date, but Triton does this. Triton puts a circuit breaker on everything. So I've got a trolling motor circuit breaker. I've got a main circuit breaker with the battery on-off switch. I believe in switches, and I don't like putting nothing, when I store my boat in the boat shed, which is completely enclosed. I mean, it's completely enclosed. It's like a garage. I don't want anything on in this boat, so I turn all of those things off. When I mounted my power poles on here, I made sure that I have switches on there. So when I get to the lake, I turn the switch on, turns my pumps on. When I pull my boat out of the lake, I turn the switch off. And but we'll talk about all that later. But getting in here, it's still a little bit of a pain to get stuff in and out. It's not as bad as my old Champion was. It had a subfloor in it, and it was just a pain to try to get the stuff in it. I loved my Champion now, don't get me wrong. But it's relatively easy to get it. You just got to kind of squeeze a little bit in here to get stuff in and out. Another reason to go lithium, a whole lot lighter to get in and out. But we'll talk about that later on too, and what my personal opinion is on those. So easy to get to the pumps. It's got one 800 gallon per hour automatic bilge pump in it, and another manual. Both of them pump out of the side, and they work really well. And I've been into some bad rain, just downpours, and it kept my boat pump dry. And then on your pump out for your live wells, I think it's 800 gallon per hour also, and it pumps out your live wells pretty quick for a 36 gallon live well. So I think I've covered just about everything in the boat. Cheyenne, I guess you'll just give a final look in the boat here. It looks good. It rides well. It does everything I need plus some to fish these tournaments that I've been fishing. And the biggest thing I fish is the Skeeter Bass Champs, which in my opinion is a pretty big tournament. We'll run sometimes 200. I think one time there was last year there was 300 boats in one of the tournaments. You got guys there from every walk of life, and so I'm out there in my little 18.5 foot Triton doing the same thing they're doing. So again, I thank the Lord for letting me have it. I hope this hull breakdown. Sure enough, when it's over, I'm gonna think of something I didn't share. But hopefully this helped you a little bit for those of y'all who are trying to get the biggest bang for their buck. And if you want to be, like I say, a good steward of what God's given you, this may be something for you to think about. We'll talk about the trailer, and we'll talk about the engine next, and then we'll go to trolling motors. We'll go to electronics. We'll even go to brackets that you hook your transducers to. All those things, and why I chose, and again, you may not care, but I'm going to tell you why I chose the things that I chose, and it may help somebody out there to make a decision, especially if you're having a hard time. So please subscribe to Woods, Water, and the Word, and thank y'all for watching. And if you have a comment, give me a comment. I may have forgot something or something, I don't know. Give me a comment, and if you've got a question, ask me a question, and I'll do my best to answer that question for you. And until the next one, we'll see y'all later at Woods, Water, and the Word. Thanks. Bye.